Now, if you have a bug on your face, now if you've got a pretty good size battery bank in your RV, consider also wiring up an auxiliary 12 volt receptacle like this. And I guarantee you are going to make use of this. It's going to come in very, very handy for a lot of different things, especially if you enjoy boondocking. We use it for a lot of things, from airing up our tires to airing up the airbags, refilling our water tank, plugging in auxiliary chargers, and all this other stuff. And I want to go through some of those things with you and show you how that works, and I'll also show you how I have it wired in to our system here. And hopefully it gives you some ideas, something you can kind of take away and apply to your own RV. So let's get to it. Now, if you've been following our off-grid electrical system upgrades to this RV, you know that in this compartment here behind this fake wall is where we have all of our lithium batteries installed. Right next to the batteries here is where I wanted to keep an air compressor. We can obviously use our air compressor to air up our tires, but I also have airbags that I'm checking all the time and I want to air them up. Typically, the way most air compressors will work is that you take these alligator clips and you connect it to your battery system and your chassis battery, you fire up the engine, and then you use that to power your air compressor. Now, I wanted to hardwire this into our rig because that's how I had my previous RV set up, and it worked very, very well. And it's pretty convenient just to keep it here and just use it without having to take it out of the compartment. Now, I knew that I had enough amperage or capacity to be able to provide the current needed to power the air compressor. I just needed to be able to connect it to the RV somehow. So what I did is I took the plug here, I took the cable here, which this was connected to, and I cut it and I put this plug on it. And I'll talk about this more coming up. But just to give you a quick demonstration, I can just keep this plugged in now. And it's plugged to this connector that is tied right into the 12 volt bus bar on our battery system. So now the compressor can be just sitting here powered up all the time, and I just turn it off and on, and great for it's great for also just blowing out all the dust and stuff that we get traveling around the desert and here down in Baja. This is a heavy-duty air compressor. This one's from Tire Minder. I've been using it for several months now, and it's working very, very well. I got the sprayer. We also have another chuck for airing up tires. I have this other one that I've had for a while. Works great for inner dualies. But that's how the air compressor is set up. Now, since I have this basically on a quick disconnect, I can easily disconnect the air compressor, and now I can use this source of 12 volt power to power anything that actually runs off of 12 volt. Now, one of the ways that I use this is also to push energy back into the battery, since it's all tied into the same bus bar. So what I can do is actually plug in a battery charger, and this is something that we do every once in a while when let's say we're low on battery power, we've had a lot of bad weather, for example, and we need to fire up our generator, which goes provides power to our multi-plus inverter and charges the batteries. But the multi-plus can only put in 120 amps to our battery bank. Our generator in this case can actually output more energy than than is used by the battery charger. So what you can do is actually just take your battery charger, plug it into an AC outlet in your rig, and just so happens I have one just right up here on the wall, and then I can plug the battery charger here into the battery bank, and in this case it's a 20 amp battery charger. So I plug the charger into the AC port, AC receptacle in the rig, and then I can put an additional 20 amps of charge into the batteries. So you could go with a larger battery charger if you want, maybe up to like another 90 amp battery charger, and really push more energy into your battery bank and charge up faster if you're running off your generator. So that's another application. Now, let's say you're not using a battery charger, but you have a portable solar suitcase. Typically, you're going to have to wire that, or just probably use the alligator clips here and connect that somehow to your battery system. Now, if you had a plug like this, all you have to do is wire up a similar plug on the other end, or an adapter. Just plug that solar suitcase now into here, and you're off and running. It's charging your system. This is the extent of how far I can actually to pull this connector out. So for some of these other applications I needed more length. So what I had already, which is something I used in our previous RV, and I hooked this up primarily for an external solar setup, was wire up this extension cable. So it's another like 15 feet or so of cable that I could just simply plug into here, and then I have all this extra cable that I can run out to whatever I need to plug it into. And I also wired in a little switch here so I can turn it off and on, and that comes in pretty handy for a lot of different applications. Now, something we do quite often is to actually power a water pump that we use to transfer water from a water bladder that we haul around in the car, and then we fill it up and we bring it back to the RV to refill the water tank in our RV. Now we need a water pump for that, and it runs off of 12 volt. So this is just a standard water pump that we were able to connect to the water bladder and then pump water. But I can connect it here, and the switch comes in very handy right here. So now I can power this water pump, pull it all the way out to the car. Yeah, still got water in it. And it comes in pretty handy for filling up our water tank. We use this quite often when we're out boondocking. Now, another thing you can use a water transfer pump for is to actually power up or push water into a power washer. Now, this is pretty convenient at times when you're traveling through the desert, or in our case through Alaska, dirt roads, or here in Mexico. You get pretty dirty, and having the ability to clean things off, using a water bladder and a transfer pump, you can power your power washer from your RV here, just plug it into the AC, and then plug in your water pump and power wash your car or your RV and get it all nice and cleaned up. It's really, really handy to be able to do that. The power washer we carry is pretty small, it's compact, and it's perfectly suitable for doing moderate, even large jobs, spraying down cars or your RV and your roof, your solar panels. Lots of different things you can do with that. Now, let's say you have a car or your truck that has a dead battery. You can also just use this, connect these alligator clips to the plug here and your extension cable, run it over to your car, attach this to your battery, and then put some charge back into your car battery, enough to be able to get it started. Now, you can also use this to connect to your RV chassis battery as well. If you've run it down a little bit, maybe even sitting a while, and you just want to put a little bit of juice back into it and charge it back up so you can start it, you know, in case maybe it's gone dead or it just gets kind of low. I typically don't do that too much on mine because I have another way that I have to keep the chassis battery trickle charged from this battery, and if you want me to show you that, leave a comment and I'll make a short video about how I do that. Now, how's this all set up? Well, I went ahead and used a 10 gauge cable here, and this is just left over from some of my solar connections, and I had some extra stuff on hand. I ran this cable all the way behind the batteries here, through the wall, and it's connected to the main bus bar that I power my 12-volt system in the RV from. So it's all tied into that same bus bar. Just attach the positive and the negative to that, and then gave it about this much length. You know, the extension allows me to be able to extend that further, like another 15 feet or so. Now you could go with a thicker cable or a thinner cable, whatever you think is necessary for your application. In my case, the 10 gauge works just fine for everything that I've used it for, and I've been using it a lot. I went with these Anderson style connectors. Now I say Anderson style connectors because these are like the cheaper Chinese knockoff ones. This is the gray one. It's a 50 amp rated plug. And you know, it comes with packs of 10 or so. I always just keep a bunch of them on hand. They do come in different colors. There's like red ones and there's yellow ones. You want to make sure you get the same color, same size, because the different color ones do not fit together. So if you notice, like on the water pump here, these are all gray. They're the same. There's a positive side and then there's a negative side, and they only connect one way. Here's what the connector itself looks like. You know, there's two sides of it, but they're both identical, and you can't screw it up. You see you've got a positive, negative, positive, negative. You can't connect it wrong, so it works out pretty well. Now, the parts that are connected to the cables are right here, and you can see it can accommodate a pretty good size cable in there. You can see the shape of these here. They have a little, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little lip on the edge here, a little catch that locks it into place inside this connector here, and I'll show you that. Now you can either solder the cable in here, which is what I prefer to do if I can. You can also just crimp it, and that works just fine too. So let's look at one that's already set up. So this one here, I have a positive, goes into the plus side, and the negative goes in the negative side, and they're locked in there pretty good. Now if I want to take them out, all I have to do is take a little screwdriver or something, and there's a little tab that this locks into. You can see the connector here. I just push down on that tab, and maybe give a little pull, unlocks it. So now inside here they're released, and you can just pull these out. This one needs to get out there. Okay, there we go. So you can see these are a couple of that I actually soldered in here. I just put it in a vise, I filled it with solder, and I stuck the stripped end of the cable in there. And that's what it looks like. So I can easily remove them, and then to put them back in, you just push it in. So the plus goes here. This wants to be down because it locks in. And then I'll do this here, and then get them lined up. And I just use a little screwdriver here, and I can basically push them through here. There you go. That one's already locked in place. So is this one. So they lock over this little tab that I released the first time, and now it's in place. So you can't pull these out. They're pretty secure. So obviously the equipment that you have doesn't come with these connectors installed. So in order to be able to use these, you're going to have to cut the cable and insert these connectors. And you can still use it the way that it was originally intended. So for example, this charger, it had a straight cable that basically it's got the alligator connectors on one end like this, and it plugs in like this. So if I pull this out, I cut the cable and then I inserted the connector on this end and another one on the alligator clip end. So if I needed to use this like I originally got it, I can just keep this connected like this. This plugs into the charger on this end and I'm good to go. It's just like it was when I bought it. But if I want to be able to not connect this directly, using the alligator clips, and instead connect it to my auxiliary port, I just disconnect the alligator clip and I'm off and running. So you got to do that for all of the different things that you want to connect to this thing, like the air compressor and the water pump, which didn't have a connector at all. It basically just had bare positive and negative wires. So that was a little bit easier. Just attach one of these to it and then now I can plug it into to anything. Now I also have this little mesh bag that I keep all of this stuff organized and just stick it in here, so when I do need it, I can just grab what I need out of here and plug it in and I'm good to go. Go ahead and give this a try. I guarantee that you're going to really find it very useful, and I'll be sure to link to all the stuff, the connectors and all that stuff, where you can get them in the video description. And if you end up doing this and you have some additional tips, or maybe you've come up with a different way, be sure to share all that in the comments section, and we'll keep talking about it down there. So take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.